All right, so we're here, 6-4, and next week's spring break. So great. We'll be we'll just hone in on 6-4 today and see what we can do. And I think that's about all I want to do. I don't want to get into Chapter 7 stuff, at least before Wednesday. And we'll just go through a bunch of 6-4 questions and be ready for that last due date before you get your break. Yeah, right. Yes. All right, let's open that up. Okay, on the 6-4 tab? Okay. Oh, okay.
So we have the DM costs for equivalent units completed and conversion costs. And we bring in back the beginning with DM and beginning with conversion costs.
Yeah.
And it goes to units completed. Is that costs? Should it be costs?
Yes, this is costs of units completed. Cost of units completed. Yes, thank you. That's good correction. It's labeled wrong. These should be the right answers. Some of those would be the cost of units. Yeah. Good point there. Yeah. That would. I don't want to confuse people. Good job. Thank you. Okay. All right. I'll get out of March 6th here. All right. We got today's here. We got some anonymous frog and hedgehog and Dumbo octopus. What is that even? That's a real. That's even got the little ears. Yeah. One of his friends, one of Nemo's friends. Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, somebody got lucky and got the cute little Dumbo octopus there. All right. So 6-4, we're like terminating process costing here. We're finishing it up. We've got solid 4 weeks plus 2 midterm weeks, which included some Chapter 6 stuff. We're experts at this point. Hopefully we're just kicking off the last little bit of rust, and that's not the right analogy. Just tinkering with the last few tweaks. We're like the runners, and we're just trying to shave off the last hundredths of a second, something like that. Yeah, that's a better analogy. We're just going down the finish line here. So let's go through some 6-4 problems. Any particular kind of problem you want to see first? Make sure we put it at the top of the list so we get to it. How about one about process costing? That's a good one. Put that at the top of the list. Preferably the FIFO method. Okay, well, hey, you know what? Let's maybe we go through the whole quiz here, see what we can do, how many we can do. At least we'll start at the top and move downward. Maybe we'll skip some. And so, sorry, were you? No. Okay. Didn't know if you were trying to get one. All right. So here's one. It's asking for the ending WIP balance for this period. Oh, and there's a possibility. I've gotcha here. Maybe it can't be determined. We don't know yet. But it's looking for the ending WIP balance. So this is the part, just a real quick question. If you remember from last Wednesday, is there any difference between FIFO and weighted average? And if there is, what is it in terms of how we calculate the ending WIP balance? Just that step alone. Not the rates of the TU before that, but we have the rates. Calculating ending WIP balance, is that the same or altered from what you did to do that step in weighted average? Same, yeah, great. So we can do exactly the same thing that we did in our weighted average, which is we have a rate, which is some dollar amount per equivalent units, and so we just need to multiply that by the ending WIP equivalent units, and then we end up with dollars in ending WIP. So you do that once for direct materials, because you're going to have a direct materials equivalent units for ending WIP and a direct materials rate. And you do that once for conversion costs, because you have a conversion cost rate and a conversion cost equivalent units in ending WIP. And you end up with direct materials dollars in ending WIP and conversion cost dollars in ending WIP. And it's looking for the ending WIP balance, which is going to be the sum of those two. It's implied, it doesn't say total. It could be a little clearer there, but hopefully you catch the implication here that when it says the ending WIP balance, that means all the costs, they're all going to go in there. So we have the two rates. I did that already for you. So there's going to be no difference. We don't have to calculate with FIFO or anything different here. We're just going to do this this process here. This is a very simple process of process costing. And put that there. It's a very simple process within process costing. All right, so go here and put numlock and ending whip. Total cost question. We have 50. That's our DM rate. And we have 75, our CC rate. So $75 per equivalent unit. And then we need to do our ending whip equivalent units with respect to direct materials and our ending whip equivalent units with respect to conversion costs. And then we will end up multiplying those two, the rate. We'll end up multiplying the rate by the ending whip equivalent units, just like we set up there for direct materials. And then same thing right here. And that's going to be ending whip DM cost, ending whip CC cost. Conversion cost. Yeah, I'm going to leave that there just for posterity's sake. All right. So what is our ending whip equivalent units, with respect to direct materials? 0, right. So it has this sentence right, this part of the sentence right here, all direct materials. There's a typo there. All direct materials are added, and half of us are so used to that sentence we probably just didn't even see the typo there. Probably like when I wrote it, I didn't see the typo because that's the only kind of sentence that has that structure. But I'll put a note in to fix that. All direct. I think I had a similar typo in the weighted average problem that's like this. And so I made the mistake once and apparently copied it over to the FIFO problems. All right, all direct. Fix that typo. I didn't quite tell myself what I was doing. I'm going to forget. Fix typo on 6-4. But all direct materials are added when the units are 50% complete. And so with respect to conversion costs, and they're only 40% complete. So hasn't crossed the threshold. The water's boiling, but there are no dumplings yet in the pot here. So that's 0% complete, which means our equivalent units are 0. It's 10,000 times 0% complete, which equals 0. But our conversion costs, what is our equivalent units for conversion costs in ending whip? Excellent, yeah, which is going to give us 4,000 in the end here. So we can go into the cell here and we end up with 4,000. Did I say 40,000? I might have said 40,000. I feel like 4,000. Yeah, that 10,000, exactly like I said it here. 10,000 ending whip units times the 40% complete with respect to conversion costs gives us 4,000, which means our total cost here is 300. Our total cost is, stop thinking you're so smart, Google, is 300,000. Which is entirely made up of the conversion cost because there are 0 direct materials costs. I'll even make it all fancy and coded with the dollar signs there. All right, so that should be our right answer there. If we did not correctly read the dumpling aspect of this, we would put in 10,000 here and we would get the wrong answer. Okay, good. It's not too bad. We've done this before. Let's go on, see here. What do we have? All right, so here is a problem which is just asking us for that last step, but with regard to units completed transferred out, given us the rates already. Great. So I like this one. This will be a good chance to focus in on that last step, which is a little trickier under FIFO. FIFO, in the wrong screen. FIFO, cost of units completed, question. Rates provided. All right, so we'll start with those rates. 257 is our DM per equivalent unit rate. It's the same thing as up here. Just felt like specifying it per, and this is our CC per equivalent unit rate. Okay, and so now we have, let me go ahead and write down first off the beginning whip costs that were sent into orbit. This is our DM cost, DN beginning whip cost. It's in orbit. It's going to come back at the very end of the problem. And here is our conversion cost, beginning WIP. Cost, yep, I'm going to do it. Going to make somebody's brain explode there. All right, so these are in orbit. We're gonna note them now so we can add them in later. And what we need to do now is multiply these rates by something. What are we going to multiply those rates by? Yes, perfect. We want to get the equivalent units worth of work that was done with this period's rates. That big, long, nasty, ugly term that I can't think of shortening, at least not for a couple of years. So we have total units completed, 5,400. And we have beginning with physical units of 100. We have DM beginning with percent complete for direct materials of 100% complete, which is 1, there we go, and 40% complete with respect to conversion costs. I'm just copying down that, and this here comes from that part of the table. And we don't need anything down here for this problem. So we can take this is our beginning of equivalent units with respect to direct materials, beginning of equivalent units with respect to conversion costs. And now we can get that units completed, just like Jack said, minus the beginning with equivalent units. This is our equivalent units, DM, with this period's rate. And now we have the same thing for conversion costs. The units completed minus the beginning with equivalent units. So these reflect how much we're going to apply this period's rates to. So let's multiply those out. All right, that was kind of goofy what happened, but it's this equivalent unit number times the direct materials equivalent unit rate. So that's our DM cost of work done this period of units completed with this period's work. And we're going to have the same thing down here, but with the conversion cost rate. That rate times that equivalent unit figure gives us those numbers right there. We can sum those. That's total cost of units completed or equivalent units worth of work with this period's work. And then we can bring back into orbit our beginning WIP costs. Just going to add those three together. Total cost of units completed. We added in cost back in orbit. Back from orbit, how about that? All right, so notice that this right here is one of the answer choices to tempt you. I forget why the other ones are wrong. Maybe they're weighted average. But right here is the answer we finally get, which should be the right answer. Unless you see something I'm missing here, I fat fingered something or otherwise forgot a step. All right. Yeah, this one. Yeah, Chase. This right here? Yeah. I took the rate times the equivalent unit figure we calculated right here. This is units completed minus the beginning WIP equivalent units. Why aren't we? We aren't. Why aren't we adding ending WIP? It's a separate. We just do it a separate calculation. So we're trying to figure out how much of this goes to units completed and ending WIP. So we're just isolating that calculation right there. And in a separate calculation, we take down there. Does that make sense? Answer the question okay? Now, we include ending WIP in our TEU calculation to get to those rates, but this problem gave us the rates already. I don't know if that helps. Yeah, it's not like ending WIP has never been factored into this. It has, but it's disguised in the fact that I've already given you the rates, and I'm not. And then there's a separate calculation we would do to use those rates to figure out the cost of ending WIP. Okay. Yeah. This is maybe you'll agree with me here. This is why I call this the hardest kind of question, because there's just even isolating just the one calculation here, we've got a good number of steps. And look, I know I stretched this out. We could have done it in our head and said, oh well, 100 times 100% is, I could just write that in. 100 times 40%, I could just write in 40 here. I know that. Or even in your head, if you really feel pretty comfortable with these calculations, you could say, well, I know it's going to be 5,400 minus 100 times 100%, so minus 100, it'll be 5,300. You maybe just jump to that if you really wanted to, or code that into one cell. You could also code this one into one cell. Well, 5,400 minus 40% of 100, which is 40, and get the 5,360 right there. If you feel like you can condense those steps, that's great. I know I expanded it out to show every step here at least. So it's maybe condensable somewhat, but still a lot of steps, which every step has the potential for error. Even if you're very competent at it, you might have a 99% chance of error, which means that when you stack for each step, and each step, the more steps you have, then the higher your chance of getting at least one of them wrong. Yeah, I think that came out. If you look back at the transcript, I think that wording came out fine. All right, this is a very similar question here. Similar. We'll skip it for now. How about we'll put a little pin in that one. In case you didn't know Canvas could do that. It's down here. Now it's flagged at the very end when you want to look at it. You probably did. Maybe somebody out there's like, what? But you probably already did that. Okay, we already did one of these problems. We'll just move on. Keep going. And we did. Going back to that. I'm getting a lot of repetition here on 6-4 of the same kinds of problems over and over and over again. Yeah. Okay, here is a nice fun one where we go more end zone to end zone here. We start out with just some raw information, and we're expected to get conversion cost of units completed and transferred out. So luckily, it's not everything. We don't have to get direct materials involved, but it still is. We start from nothing. We're going to have to figure out TEU from this information, and we're going to have to figure out a rate with that TEU, and then something related to this, and maybe this if we forgot. We'll discuss that. You probably remember. I'm teasing you and tempting you in the way that you're like, I'm past that. I know that. And then we have to apply the rates and do this part right here once we get the rates. The rate. So let's do this problem. In fact, let's make it where you do it on your own for a minute or two as one good rep here. And I'll work on it over here. Me and 13 of my closest friends, anonymous animals, which I know it's probably you guys. Although I wonder if you were not in this class and just happened to, like, if you were in the online class and you were following along during class period, would it be confusing what I write in the Google Sheet here?
The recording's not live, is it?
No, it's not live.
They wouldn't see the question that you're working on.
Right. No, that's right. I don't think it would be very valuable to watch me work out this question that's of unknown fact pattern over here. All right, anyway. So it must be people in the room here. But yeah, let's go ahead and give a couple minutes. We'll work on this problem here. This is All right. So 10, 20 more seconds here. It's long enough to let you wrap up without being so long. It's too tedious. So, anybody have first of all have their own calculations, not from our group spreadsheet here. Their own calculations of what you got? I got a few hands. Oh, somebody want to give one of you three? I wasn't looking up, so I didn't see who put their hand up first. Sorry. Here, go ahead. What'd you get? Okay, I got very close to that. 5,683,82. That's what I got. That's what I got too. 5,677, something like that. Okay. For you got 428 for beginning whip cost, right? Copy that over, and then before that I got 5255.82 for the conversion cost for the equivalent units completed with its periods rate. Sorry, what? Okay, let's go back to the conversion cost rate. I've got 10.62 and then some extra numbers. Is that you got that? The conversion cost rate is off, or? Okay, I'm actually happier if that's the mistake because it's probably easier to fix. Looks like you got the mechanics. So let me pull this over. The mechanics of new stuff is the question. So this part down. If there isn't a mistake here, that's probably easier to fix. So I got this, and somewhere up here probably is where the mistake is happening, or others. If people get it wrong too. So I'll go through what I did here. So first, copied over the information. This right here is just from the problem set, the fact pattern here. Calculated units completed, right here. And then I have over here, I didn't use these cells, but I have over here just for reference. Now what the equivalent units are in beginning whip and ending whip for conversion cost, just the physical units times their percent complete. And so then I wrote out the equation, TEU equals units completed minus beginning whip equivalent units plus ending whip equivalent units. I end up with this number right here. Is that looking like what you got? No? Okay, no worries. All right, so I took the students completed minus the beginning whip equivalent units plus the ending whip equivalent units right here, which again, I have that over here too. But copied over 5368 from here. So the TEU I calculated a second ago was our denominator, copied over our numerator, and then I get this rate right here. Okay, now for the new stuff with FIFO, I take units completed minus beginning whip equivalent units right here, and I get 494.75 equivalent units. So we finished 513 units, just to articulate exactly narratively what we're doing here. We finished 513 units, because with FIFO, we really want to draw a hard line between this period's work and last period's work. We know some of those units are just us completing the beginning whip units, the first ones in. And we're not going to apply this period's rate to all that work done last period. Those equivalent units in beginning whip keep their costs. We're going to take those costs, set them in orbit, add them at the very end. So instead, we're going to take this 513 and subtract away the work done last period, this 18.25 equivalent units worth of work done last period. So what remains is 494.75 equivalent units worth of work that we're going to apply this period's rates to. So of this 513, only 494.75 equivalent units worth of work gets this rate. So we multiply those two, we end up with the conversion costs for the equivalent units completed with this period's rate. Finally, we add back in those beginning WIP costs we sent into orbit to keep them out of the whole thread, to keep it separated. They come back in, we add them at the very end here, and we get our total cost. I think that should be right. Round to 2. We can check in a second here. Okay. Is that all right? All right. I mean, maybe that might be all as good as we can get for these kind of questions. All right. I can handle them. At least I have a decent shot at them. These questions will be on the final. This 6-4 set of questions will be on the final. So we'll keep that knowledge. We'll review that knowledge towards the end of the class, and it'll make up a certain percentage of that final exam question set you'll see. So if you're not 100% on them, that isn't the end of the world. There's a lot of material between here and the end as well. All right. Let's try and submit this. Want to go back up and look at this one? Anybody really want to look at question 3 here that I marked? Heard of yeah?
That one should be super quick, right?
Yeah, it should be, because we're gonna have a failure. Well, even quicker than it usually would be, I should say. We have the rates. Yeah, so we're gonna try to apply that rate to not completed units, but completed units minus beginning WIP equivalent units. And we don't know what the beginning WIP equivalent units are. So we're like the first or second step of our process. We can't keep going. We're done. So this one you can't. Yeah. Let's see. I thought I saw one that's very similar to this elsewhere in this quiz. So not quite the same format. Well, let's submit and try to get something like that. Okay, we answered. Let's just see, make sure we got everything right. Answered that one, right. Good. And we skipped. Answered that one, good. Well, that was the harder one that we got. Okay, good. And we skipped the rest. Great, let's try again. So, I'll keep fishing. Let's try it. Oh, no luck on that one. This kind of one right here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's walk through this one. This is one where we have our conversion cost rate. We're being asked for total conversion cost of units completed and transferred out. So we're trying to apply that rate to our units completed. We have these conversion costs, beginning WIP conversion costs. So they get sent into orbit. They'll come back at the very end of our process. Meanwhile, we're going to apply this rate to units completed minus the beginning WIP equivalent units. No, here's the beginning WIP equivalent units. So we have 9,500 units in beginning WIP that are 50% complete with respect to conversion costs. So this is our FIFO and conversion cost rates provided question. We have 10.5, if I could type it, is our CC rate. We have also 26,000 is our beginning WIP cost. We have 26,750 is our units completed, or completed units, same thing. And we have 9,500 beginning WIP physical units at 0.5% complete, beginning WIP percent complete with respect to conversion costs. So we can multiply these together, This is our beginning WIP equivalent units. And we need to subtract that away from our units completed. This is our equivalent units now completed with this period's rate or this period's work. I think I sometimes say both phrases. And we can multiply that by our rate now. So that is now our conversion cost for units completed with this period's work. This period's rates, work. And this is when finally those beginning WIP costs come back from orbit, and we add them in to get our total conversion cost of units completed and transferred out, like it asked for in the problem. Does that look pretty good? Process okay? All right. Any other requests here? Yeah. I'm 99.9% sure the answer is no. Pretty sure I always ask for that final step. Yeah, the final one. So it's a little different from, there are a couple questions in like chapter 3, similar, to me it seems similar, where I asked you, for example, the multi-product CVP problems. Sometimes I asked you for the composite unit at break even, and so you had to pick a method or whatever. So therefore you got some points if you remembered everything but that last step with those questions. I don't know if I've really thought it out theory-wise or made a conscious choice, but I've just not included those kind of questions here. Maybe that makes it a little simpler in that the questions are always very, very similar to what they're asking. I don't know. Maybe some trade-offs there. But no, I don't think I have any questions like that. I haven't seen any this time. And when I looked back earlier, I think something similar was asked a different day. Maybe it's an email I got. Anyway, I think it was asked before. I think I looked real quickly. I didn't see any then either. So yeah, just it's always asking for that final answer. Part of the problem is, if I ask that kind of question, I think the question stem would be like a paragraph and a half because of the longness of that phrase. What is the conversion cost of units completed with this period's work, also known as this period's rates, also known as the artist's formerly known as prints? Yeah, it's just, wouldn't work. Okay, requests? Hey, how many of us, yeah, this is fine. You can say it. This will be, you can raise your hand as a point of pride. That's a good thing. I don't want to ask people like, how many of you are terrible people? That's not, if I asked instead, how many of you are great people? That's a little nicer of me to ask. How many people have attempted 6-4 already? Got a few hands up? Okay. How many people are thinking of attempting 6-4 in the near future? Also, oh, good. That's good. I appreciate that. That's good. How many, how many feel moderately confident to relatively highly confident? Oh, that's terrible. At least moderately confident about 6-4? That's good. Okay, there we go. I like that. I like that answer. That's good. Thank you for giving me the answer I wanted. I kept asking until I got the one I wanted. Sorry, it's me being dumb. But that's good. That's good. I don't have much more before spring break here. I think I'm willing to close up the class here today because again, I don't really want to start lecturing on the theory of chapter 7, which we'll talk about that Wednesday. Yeah, we'll probably have Wednesday a similar class where we go over some 6-4, especially if there are request problems that you're giving you trouble between now and then, as more and more of you attempt it. And then once we're done with requests, I'll make sure we start a little bit at least into Chapter 7 so that come Monday after spring break, we can at least do some questions. And Chapter 7 in large part is, at least a portion of Chapter 7 will be review for you. Maybe a good portion depending on how well you remember this kind of stuff from intro. All right, well, that's it. Let's go ahead and stop the video and be done. Thank you very much for the class.